رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Regarding Tariq, I want to always make a few points because in preparing these durus, I myself go through an emotional roller coaster. We had the earlier durus about the Sirat al-Nabawiyya min ahadith al-Sahiha. We did the Sirah al-Nabawi from the authentic ahadith, and it was a continuous iman boost in those durus because you saw the mu'ajizat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the miracles. And even now, and even today's dars, we'll talk about one of the miracles of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that came true later on. As time passes, the fitan begin and the problems within the ummah. And this is qadar, this is meant to be. There has to be fitan, there has to be. One of the brothers, this is in the mid-90s, he explained something and it still sticks with me, that what is the meaning of the word fitna? We can talk about linguistics and things, but to understand, it is like that fire that is lit and then the raw gold that's mined, that has dirt in it, that has useless things in it, and it has pure gold in it. It's mined, is put on that fire. And that fire is fitna, where it separates between the gold and the dirt. So if there is no fire, if there is no hardship, then how would you know who is the munafiq from who is the mu'min? How would you know who really means what they say until we're under that fire? So fitan had to happen. This clarification had to happen. So we believe in qadr and we accept it. But these durus are very important for us to understand, even though they're hard, because you hear about the bloodshed and things in the Muslims and it's hard. But we need to know what really happened. We need to know right from wrong. We need to be able to explain this to our children and to our neighbors and to our families and to those who ask us. Tayyib, in Tariq, we were at a point where ʿAbdullāh ibn Zubair, he was taking bay'ah in Mecca and also the people of Medina. And we we spoke about his virtues and who he was already. And let's take a little bit today again. But Yazid ibn Muawiyah, Yazid the son of Muawiyah the Sahabi radiyallahu anhu. Yazid was not a Sahabi, as we mentioned. He had died and he had appointed his son Muawiyah ibn Yazid ibn Muawiyah. His name was also Muawiyah, like his grandfather. And we mentioned al-Dhahabi and Ibn Kathir and others have mentioned him to be a pious man. Muawiyah ibn Yazid was a zahid, somebody who used to study ilm, learn hadith. And he didn't want to be Khalifa. He did not want the dunya. He didn't want the kingdom. And that's something hard to believe nowadays. Like nowadays, everybody's fighting for kingdom. Everybody's fighting for power. But many of the Salaf, like Abdullah ibn Umar and others, they could have stepped up, but they didn't want it. They preferred the akhirah. They preferred just being people of zuhud. They preferred just sitting in halaqat of ilm and memorizing Quran and memorizing ahadith. And they found that to be better than the worldly life. As did Muawiyah ibn Yazid ibn Muawiyah. He became sick from the tension, whatever else stress that he had put upon him by making him the Khalifa. And within a few months, he died. Before death, they asked him to appoint the next Khalifa. Now, the way the Khilafah works, unlike a kingdom, I want to clarify this, it does not go by lineage. The kingdom, a mamlika works like this. The king dies and whoever is next in line, whether according to some structures it's the eldest brother that's next in line, some of them it's the children, like in England and things like this. They become king or queen, whatever, depending where you're at, after them. But they don't have qualifications other than being from a certain womb. What other qualifications do they bring? Nothing. Islam is not like this. Islam, you have to put the most qualified person forward. It doesn't matter whether they're rich or poor, it doesn't matter whose son they are. And that's why even though Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Banu Hashim, but he didn't restrict the Khilafah to be for Banu Hashim. Yes, the earlier Khilafah was all amongst the Quraysh because the most qualified people were all amongst the Quraysh. No doubt to this. Yani Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali are all from Quraysh, even though they're from different sub-tribes within Quraysh, but they were put forward because they were the most pious, they were the most knowledgeable, they were the most competent, they were the most qualified, and that's how it works. It didn't mean that after Abu Bakr, his son would become Khalifa, no. But this had become a trend now, and here, when Muawiyah radiallahu anhu had put Yazid, Yazid had put his son Muawiyah, but his son Muawiyah refused to do that. He said, look, the best example I have in front of me is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who did not particularly say who would be Khalifa, even if he gave isharat. He goes, and then the best example after that is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, who assigned Umar. He said, but I did not find an Umar amongst you. He's talking to Banu Umayyah and he's talking to those around him. He says, I didn't see Umar amongst you, so I cannot appoint somebody like this. He said, Umar put a shura of 6 people, and he said, from these 6 you should choose. So this is after Abu Bakr, this is the next best example in front of me, but I did not find 6 amongst you like those that Umar chose. So he said, I'm not choosing anybody, you guys deal with it. I'm not going to take the Khilafah with me to the Akhirah. Yani I'm not going to take that responsibility with me in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that why did you choose this person or why did you not choose this person. And he was a person of zuhud, somebody who feared standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all from them. At this time, Banu Umayyah, who were the leadership, fell into a disagreement. Here you had Khalid ibn Yazid. Yazid ibn Muawiyah had another son named Khalid, and some of the people felt that he should be the next Khalifa. And Malik ibn Hassan, who was the ruler of what's today considered Palestine, this area which was within Sham at that time, he was a big supporter of Khalid, and he felt Khalid ibn Yazid should be the next leader. There was also Marwan ibn Hakam. Marwan was a very skilled statesman, somebody who had a lot of experience. He used to rule Medina. He had done a good job. So many people felt that he should be the next leader. There was also Sa'id ibn al-As and others who were in the running. So while this was going on, and according to Tabari and some of the narrations that Tabari presents, this happened for 40 days. They had a disagreement. Some of the ulama said for 2 months. Some said more or less. But the point is, there was no candidate put forward. So who was taking bay'ah at that time was Abdullah ibn Zubair. Abdullah ibn Zubair is a Sahabi. Abdullah ibn Zubair is rightfully considered the Khalifa of that time. We as Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we say that his Khilafah was the legitimate Khilafah of that time. Why? Because he was taking bay'ah. And nobody else was taking bay'ah. I mean, bay'ah was not being given to Marwan or to Khalid ibn Yazid or to Sa'id ibn al-As. So, who was the legitimate Khalifa at this period was Abdullah ibn Zubair. Abdullah ibn Zubair, his bay'ah began in Mecca and Medina. And as we mentioned, originally he did not want to be the Khalifa. He told Hussein ibn Ali radiallahu anhuma that you guys, you should step up to be the Khalifa and I will give you bay'ah. But when Hussein ibn Ali radiallahu anhuma became shaheed in Karbala, Abdullah ibn Zubair at that time, thinking that it was not befitting for the ummah to have somebody who was indirectly responsible for what happened, he stepped up, and with the death of Yazid, there was nobody else legitimate, so he was the Khalifa. From Mecca and Medina and Hijaz, the bay'ah grew. People like Nu'man ibn Bashir, who was assigned originally in Hims by Yazid, he felt that Abdullah ibn Zubair was qualified, and no doubt to his piety, so he gave his bay'ah, and people in Khurasan and people in Misr and areas like in Iraq, their bay'ah started to go to Abdullah ibn Zubair. Abdullah ibn Zubair, across the board, in the Kutub of Tariq, he was brave. And he was a man of honor, a man of bravery, a man of ghira, a man of shuja'. Yani he was somebody who was also very fasih and baligh. Yani he was a very eloquent speaker. He was very strong in the Arabic language. When he would speak, it would be with a few words, with great meaning. And he spoke many languages. He had 100 servants. These were not slaves. Some of them were taken through wars against kuffar and things, but many of them had become Muslims, so he had freed them. But because of his good akhlaq and because of his knowledge, they stayed with him. And they would serve him and they would work for him. And subhanAllah, this is the way of those people at that time, that even though they were free, they wanted to stay in the servitude of the people of knowledge to benefit from the people of knowledge. Abdullah ibn Zubair had slaves or servants here from many different areas, 100 of them, who spoke different languages. Abdullah ibn Zubair, as Ibn Kathir and Tabari and Imam al-Dhahabi has authenticated, he spoke the language of all of them. Like not 100 languages, and maybe there were 10 and 20 from one area, or 10 and 20, but he would speak to each one in their language. So he was that skilled in speaking different languages that he picked up their languages and he would communicate with them in their languages. So from Tariq we see not only was he pious, not only was he brave, not only was he a person of honor, but he was also very intelligent. His bay'ah now took all of the ummah except the areas of Sham. Sham still had not given bay'ah to anybody. Tayyib, now when we look at Abdullah ibn Zubair, one of the ahadith, and it's a saying of a tabi'i, but it's still considered a hadith. I looked up the sanad to make sure the authenticity of it. I found to be very beautiful. Just to give you an example of what he was like. They said about Abdullah ibn Zubair that if you saw him fi umur al-dunya, if you saw him busy in one of the aspects of the worldly life, like trade or business, you would think that he's an expert only in this. He was very successful in it. So you wouldn't think that he's also an alim, he's also a mujahid, he's also in other things. You would think he's just a businessman. If he went to any trade, he would be so good in it that you would think that that's his thing, that's all he does. But when you sat with him in the halaqah, in the circles of knowledge, when he spoke about the Quran and ahadith and fiqh, you would think that he doesn't know anything about the world. And he was equally skilled and knowledgeable and able in worldly matters and also in the knowledge of the akhirah and his ilm of Quran and hadith and fiqh. A lot has been written about his fiqh rulings and his fatawa, and no doubt even till today when we study fiqh we find his aqwal in them. Abdullah ibn Zubair, if you look at his life and his khilafah, it was only a life of zuhud and jihad. Constantly he was in jihad fi sabilillah in the earlier times. When he became the Khalifa, he was constantly on the defensive, and we'll talk about that. And somebody asked him, why? Why do you even want to step into this field? Abdullah ibn Umar, for example, told him to step out of this. He said, because we are people who seek the akhirah at the expense of our dunya. SubhanAllah, I think about the kings and presidents and leaders in our ummah today, and wallahu a'lam, you look at the types of lying and accusations and murders and things, and you think they're making their dunya at the expense of the akhirah. But these salaf, like Abdullah ibn Zubair, they were in leadership, but they were in positions of leadership to build their akhirah. Tayyib, at this time, now back in Sham, we see that the Banu Umayyah and others who supported them, they came to an agreement. After a few months, whether it was 40 days or 2 months or whatever time period, they came to an agreement. They said the next Khalifa would be Marwan ibn al-Hakam. And when he dies, it will not go to his son. It will go to Khalid ibn Yazid, the son of Yazid. And when he dies, it will go to Sa'ad ibn al-As. So now they made a hierarchy and they came to an agreement on it, and they stepped into the leadership role as well. So they started taking bay'ah for Marwan in Sham. We, the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we say this is wrong. Once Abdullah ibn Zubair, who was no doubt qualified, and he was taking bay'ah, and he had bay'ah not just from Hijaz, but from the majority of the Muslim world, they should have combined under his leadership. They did not have a reason to doubt his abilities. He was not a zalim, he was not somebody who had oppressed anybody, he was not a fasiq, they had no quarrels with his character. But khair, they had their own ijtihad. What was their ijtihad? Their ijtihad, they said that the next Khalifa should have been either chosen by Yazid or the people around him. So how can we accept Abdullah ibn Zubair? We should have chosen it, and this was their ijtihad. But we say Abdullah ibn Zubair was a haqq, he had more right. Marwan ibn Hakam, I'm not going to go deep into his background, but I will mention a few things. There is Khilafah ulama whether he was a Sahabi or not. If you look at the aqwal, many things, even to praise him, it seems like that he was a tabi'i. But wallahu alam, without going into that detail, because to prove somebody to be a Sahabi, they had to have seen Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though he was born at a time that he could have seen Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But like Abdullah ibn Zubair, for example, he was given to Rasulullah in his lap, and Rasulullah spoke about him. And later, when he was a child, he would speak about seeing Rasulullah. He would narrate a hadith later on and things like this. We don't see such a thing from Marwan, but some of the ulama held the opinion that as a child he had seen Rasulullah, others didn't. But he was no doubt respectful of the Sahaba. But he had some ijtihad where he fell into some bid'at. And these in the books of fiqh we find they're called the Marwani bid'at al-Marwaniyah. And there were mistakes on his part, and the Sahaba corrected him. They stood up against him on this. For example, there is a hadith sahih that when Marwan was there in Medina and they were going for Salah in Jum'ah, Marwan was giving khutbah. Abu Sayyid al-Khudri, he went to go make rak'atayn, 2 rak'at. And he was coming from the outside. From the sunnah, if you come to the masjid, even on Jum'ah, even the khatib is speaking, you make your rak'atayn. As the hadith in Sahih Muslim, where Rasulullah was kana yakhtab, and he was giving khutbah, and we saw the Sahabi walk in, he told him before he was about to sit, he told him, you made your rak'atayn? During the khutbah, he told him. When the Sahabi said no, he said, get up, make rak'atayn, then sit. Even though if you look at the wording of the hadith, Rasulullah was giving the khutbah at the time. Here we see the same thing. Abu Sayyid al-Khudri came, Marwan was giving. Abu Sayyid al-Khudri came from afar. So he came late and the khutbah had already begun. He started to make rak'atayn. Some of the guards of Marwan had guards during Jum'ah at that time because there were fitan and things. Now this is when he was the wali of Medina. I'm just giving you some background about him. Okay, this is not right now, I'm going back a little bit. So at that time, some of his guards, they saw Abu Sayyid al-Khudri, they told him, sit down. They tried to stop him. Abu Sayyid al-Khudri told them no. This is not the way. They told him that the Amir, which is Marwan, has ordered that if somebody comes, they need to listen to the khutbah. He told him that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when you come to the masjid, don't sit until you make rak'atayn. He made his rak'atayn. When this issue was brought to Marwan, Marwan accepted it. And even though he had given an opinion originally that was sunnah, but he changed his opinion, which shows that he had a character at least to accept. Today, and if you go to a king and you tell him a hadith, may Allah protect us if you'll be out of jail by the time you finish the hadith or not, but very difficult for people to accept that they're wrong when they're in places of authority. Same time, during that time, one time Abu Sayyid al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu was making the rak'atayn, and he had put the sutra in front of him. This is from the sunnah. You should have a sutra in front of you during salah. Unless you're out in some field where there is nobody around, there are some ahadith that show that you can make it without when there is nobody. But in the masjid or in a place where somebody could cross in front of you, you should put the sutra. He had put the sutra, and one of the family of Uqba ibn Walid, who was now related to Marwan, from the same family, came to cross in front of Abu Sayyid al-Khudri. Abu Sayyid al-Khudri, radiyallahu anhu, from the sunnah, he put his hand. He stopped him. And that's from the sunnah. If you put the sutra, and if somebody crosses between you and the sutra, then you should stop them. As Rasulullah said in the hadith. Now, if you didn't put the sutra, this is just explaining the hukam, then don't. Right? Because then it's your fault. Why didn't you put the sutra? Right? Or if they're crossing from away, you don't chase them. It's only if they're between the place of sujood and you. If they're going past that, you don't go and chase them to try to fight people in salah. No. But if you put a sutra and somebody tries to cross, you stop them. In the hadith, Rasulullah said that you stop it in one of the rawayat 3 times, and if they what? So here Abu Sayyid al-Khudri stopped this man. This man, not finding any other place, he tried again. Abu Sayyid stopped him again. He tried again. Abu Sayyid hit him during salah. It's from the sunnah. and you can do it. He hit him very harsh. He hit him hard. So this man, he took this issue to Marwan. Marwan had Abu Sa'id called in into the place where they would give the hukam, the place where qada, and where the judgment would happen. And he told him, why did you hit this man? You are liable. You can't just go around harming the Muslim. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu presented the hadith and his dalil, and Marwan accepted it. Marwan accepted it. One more I will mention. When Marwan was going to go make the Eid Salah. What is the sunnah for Eid Salah? That you make the Salah first, then you give the khutbah. The sunnah is Salah first, then the khutbah. Marwan, he made his ijtihad. He said people don't sit, like many people here as well. They don't sit for the talk. Alhamdulillah, at Ribat, when our Eid Salah, I've seen an improvement. But many other masajid, as soon as Salahs happen, people start hugging and talking, and nobody sits to the khutbah. Marwan, seeing this, he decided to change it to the way of Jum'ah. Like the way Jum'ah is done, the khutbah first, then Salah. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu in the Sahih hadith, he mentioned that I was going with Marwan. Marwan was walking, holding the hand of Abu Sa'id to show respect to the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said when we got there, Marwan, he went to give the khutbah. And he had put a pulpit in the place of Eid, and in the member like this. It is not from the sunnah to have a member like this in the place of Eid. Right? So Abu Sa'id al-Khudri told him that you can stand higher, but you don't put a member in the place of Eid, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not do that. But Marwan told him, we need it. He explained to him, we need it. And he went to go give khutbah. Abu Sa'id held him. He grabbed him. He told him why. He said, no. The sunnah is you make your salah first, then the khutbah. Marwan said, what you learned is finished now. What you have learned at that time is now finished. We found something new. We found a better way because people don't listen. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri told him that what we learned from Rasulullah sallam is the best, and it's the one that's ahaq, has more right to be obeyed than anything that you bring after that. And he harshly criticized him. Marwan didn't listen. At the time of Marwan, he continued to give the khutbah first. But alhamdulillah, the ulama, they condemned this, and after this, nobody followed this. Like today, we don't find any madhab, or alhamdulillah, I have never seen any of the masajid or places follow this bid'ah. Rather, it was something rejected. Now, this was his ijtihad, he made a mistake, but Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu condemned him in front of everybody. Some people, if you did that today, you would be labeled many labels. But Abu Sa'id al-Khudri did it in front of everybody. He condemned him, and Marwan did not react. He didn't have him in prison, he didn't have him beaten, he didn't have him. So it shows Marwan had a love for knowledge, had a love for the people of knowledge, even if he made mistakes in many other things. Tayyib. Now, Marwan, his Khilafah didn't last long either. And we say that he didn't have a right at this time to take bay'ah anyway, but khair, he did take bay'ah. Next in line was Khalid ibn Yazid. Now I'm going to say this is historic documentation. Many of these narrations are not with sanad, rather what the ulama of tariq have written, and I always clarify that for you to know. So there was an idea that some of the ulama of tariq felt that Marwan wanted to assassinate Khalid ibn Yazid. Now there is no evidence of this. There is no plot, there was no conspiracy, there was no sanad for this kind of a narration from Marwan. But this is something that maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. We cannot confirm or deny it. But this was a rumor. Khalid ibn Yazid took this rumor to his mother. His mother's name is Amina. Amina was the wife of Yazid. And she is the mother of Khalid ibn Yazid. Marwan married Amina after Yazid died, and after the iddah and everything of that was done, he married her, and to show honor, to respect her, he married her. So Khalid went to her and told her that it seems like the rumor is that Marwan is going to have me killed, so that the next in line will not be there, because Khalid ibn Yazid was next in line after Marwan. So she told him, and the Tabari and others have, she said, don't worry about this, I got this. And Marwan, he went out amongst the people and he would go and he would deal with cases and he would deal with all of this and he would come back very tired. He came back tired. He went to sleep in his chambers, in his castle. And at that time, this Amina, she brought 4 women from the slaves of Marwan, 4 women. And these 4 women tied him down and suffocated him. So in 9 months, his Khilafah was over. He was assassinated by his own wife and 4 women in his chambers. Careful, guys, when you go to sleep. So Marwan, whether he plotted to kill Khalid ibn Yazid or not, wallahu a'lam. Many of the A'imma ulama said this was a rumor. There was no basis to it because he didn't seem like the type. But wallahu a'lam. But either which way, he got killed because of the rumors. I mean, they say the word on the street is reality, right? So, he was killed, and at that time, now a dispute fell again between Banu Umayyah. At that time, when we look at the A'imma and Ulama, they were strict on their own following of the Sunnah. Even though there was fitna were going on, there is Bishr ibn Marwan. He was one of the people from Abu Umayyah who was the son of Marwan, and the next in line, one of the people that was a contender. Khair, Bishr ibn Marwan, he gave khutbah, and this hadith is in Sahih Muslim. It's hadith number 874. Abu Dawud has it also in his Sunan, hadith number 1104. So Bishr ibn Marwan, he gave the khutbah رافعا يديه فهو يدعو في يوم الجمعة. And Abu Dawud has it clearly that he raised his hands to make dua in the Jum'ah, in the khutbah. So here the Sahabi Umara radiyallahu anhu, in other riwayat they also mention Abu Sayyid al-Khudri, but what is in Sahih Muslim and the Sunan of Abu Dawud, it's Umara radiyallahu anhu. He told him, قَبَّ اللَّهُ هَادَيْنَ الْيَدَيْنِ, may Allah destroy these 2 ugly hands. لقد رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ما يزيد على هذا يقول بيده فهكذا وأشار بأصابعه. So he said that may Allah destroy these 2 ugly hands, because I saw Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم not increase from making ishara, and he raised his finger. And in the riwayah from Sahih Muslim and Abu Dawud, it's the forefinger, this finger. He said, I saw Rasulullah make dua in khutbah and not increase from raising this finger. And during the khutbah, during the dua, he spoke out against this. And this is the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what does that tell you? First thing, even times of fitna, even times of hardship, even times of war, the Sahaba did not put the religion on pause and did not consider anything minute. They didn't consider anything minor. Whether you raise the hand finger or raise the hands like this, today people will tell you this is a minor issue. There was a khatib used to be in this masjid, used to raise the hands in Jum'ah khutbah, and in the dua. When we told him this, he said this is a minor issue. Then he was like, bring your evidence. We took the ahadith to him and things. But the issue is, people take this as minor. He was like, people are dying in Syria and this, subhanAllah, as if you following the sunnah will harm the people of sunnah. As if your bid'ah or your not following the sunnah is going to bring nusrah to the people of sunnah. No. If people are dying in Syria, make dua for them, go help them, go do what you can. If people are dying around the world, do what you can. But don't make that an excuse to leave anything from the religion. Nothing from the religion is minor. Umar radiyanhu, he didn't say at that time that, oh, there's fitna in the ummah, and there's going to be war, and there's disputes, and this guy is going to be the leader. I shouldn't say anything about him either raising the finger or the hands. Who cares, a minor issue? No. During Jum'ah, during the dua, he got up and made dua against them, in such a harsh dua. This is to show the bravery and the love for everything from the sunnah of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. Bishr ibn Marwan also didn't react. He didn't have him in prison or beat or anything like this, which also shows that even if the corrupt, the people that were going towards corruption at that time were still better than what we have today. Allah give us the best. Khair, at this time, Marwan, before his death, had assigned Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, even though Khalid ibn Yazid was supposed to be next. And Banu Umayyah, they went and they agreed to follow Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. Marwan, after 9 months or so, his Khilafah finished. And Abdul Malik ibn Marwan became a leader. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, regarding him, no doubt he was a talib of ilm. He used to sit in the halaqat of ilm, of the people of knowledge, and learn ahadith and learn Quran. He made many mistakes, and we'll talk about some of them today. But at the same time, he was also somebody who had a love for knowledge. And Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, he was somebody who was in the running here to be Khalifa anyway, because he was an intelligent young man. And the other option that Banu Umayyah had was Abdul Aziz ibn Marwan, who is the other son of Marwan, and he was also somebody assigned. And he is the father of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. Umar Abdul Aziz will come later in Tariq. Khair, at that time when Abdul Malik ibn Marwan became the leader of the Muslim Ummah now, or in Sham, Abdullah ibn Zubair is still in charge of the majority of the Ummah. But here in Sham, many of the people that were with Banu Umayyah revolted, including the Haq ibn al-Qais, and we spoke about him before. He fought Abdul Malik ibn Marwan in an actual battle, but Abdul Malik ibn Marwan became successful, victorious over him. And now, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan started to reach out areas to flip people from Abdullah ibn Zubair's side to his side. He felt that Banu Umayyah were the people who were, should be, and he started to gather the people behind him. Here you have now two very interesting people in history. And this is one of the miracles of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In the authentic hadith, and we mentioned this before, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us, "Inna fi Thaqif, qabilatu Thaqif, kadhaban wa mubirun." فالكذاب كما قال شيخ الإسلام تقي الدين ابن تيمية وكثير من الأئمة العلماء، الكذاب هو مختار ابن أبي عبيد الثقفي من ثقيف، والمبير هو حجاج ابن يوسف الثقفي. So Rasulullah said that in the Qabila of Thaqif there will be a liar and a mass murderer, a cruel murderer. The kadhib, the kadhab here, according to the ulama like Shaykh al-Islam and other a'imma and ulama, this was a man named Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubaid al-Thaqafi. We spoke about him earlier in the durus as well. He was one of the people who signed his letters with Shi'ain Ali. If you look at his letters, he wrote Shi'ain Ali. He is the Shia. This is the asas of the Shia, one of the earlier people who themselves called themselves Shi'ain Ali. And he was one of the people that had written letters to Hussein ibn Ali to come to Kufa and betrayed him and lied. And at different times in history, he's even claimed prophethood and things, but khair, he was a liar, no doubt. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf is also from the same tribe, even though they're not related through being brothers or anything like that, but from the same Thaqif tribe. And we'll talk about him inshallah ta'ala. Tayyib, now we are at a point where the people who were trying to come towards Abdullah ibn Zubair were being pushed towards now Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan started to try to get people towards him. But another fitna began in Iraq. And I'm going a little bit before in history to get you here. Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubaid al-Thaqafi, he came to Kufa. And he claimed he was sent by Muhammad al-Hanafiya. Muhammad al-Hanafiya, the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. But Muhammad al-Hanafiya had given bay'ah to Yazid. At that time, he had given bay'ah. But Muhammad al-Hanafiya was upset about the murder of his brother, Hussein ibn Ali, radiyallahu anhum. So no doubt, he was upset. But most of the ulama said Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubaid al-Thaqafi, he was lying. He was a liar. And when he went forward, he started to call the people to say that, I have come to take revenge for Hussein ibn Ali from the Banu Umayyah. He had now switched sides again. This is the, going back and forth. And he started to secretly collect a gathering, army to revolt against those that were in charge, that were, at that time Banu Umayyah, and then later the people of Abdullah ibn Zubair. Now, he was originally arrested, we're going to go back a little bit, when Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was still in charge of Kufa. So he arrested Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubaid al-Thaqafi. When he was arrested, the people that were his followers, they went to storm the jail. At that time, they didn't have jail houses like us. Like they didn't have a prison with bars and the things we see today. When you were arrested, basically the Khalifa or the Amir would put you in one of his houses and restrict you there. That was arrest at that time. Okay? So when he was arrested in a house, his followers came, they said, we're going to storm the house, we're going to take you out. He said, no. He said, I will show you a miracle. You will see how quick I get out. And this is something we see with the people of bid'ah. They love to call people towards themselves. The people of sunnah try to always call people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a karama to a person of hadith, a person of sunnah, he will refer it back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will say, this is from Allah. Not from me, but from Allah. But the people of bid'ah, they try to impress people for themselves. Look, I can do this. I know a person myself. Personally, I met him in Pakistan. And he made tawbah, alhamdulillah. But he sat with me, he told me, I used to be a Sufi who had his own following. And he was what they call over there a pir. And he said, I used to impress my people with tricks. Because he was in a mountainous area. He said, I told my people, I can make tea. In that area, I guess tea is a miracle. Right? In a pot without fire. People would be, how? And he was an intelligent man. He had learned some science and he knew that if the kettle is made out of silver, and I forgot, like acid or some kind of a compound, if it's put, when it touches silver, it makes friction. So he would have sand in front of where he sat, and he would put this compound in it, and he would have a tea kettle made out of silver, and he would tell them, put the tea leaves and water in it, and he would put it on top, and because the chemical reaction, it was not a karama or anything like that, because the chemical reaction, it would start to boil, and he would say, look, you see my status in front of Allah? A true wali will not show like this. Mu'jizat and karamat. We as Ahlul Sunnah believe in both of them. We believe there are mu'jizat, which are the miracles given to the Anbiya. Mu'jizat are given for the people to know that this is a haqq Nabi. And ulama, there is a furuq of Qarafi and other a'imma like Ibn Taymiyyah has Al-Furqan Bayna Awliya Ar-Rahman wa Awliya Shaitan and other books like this which gives you detail. I'm just going to give you a summary. But in the istilah of the ulama, mu'jizat are when somebody challenges nubuwwah and Allah gives a miracle against the regular way of the world to show the true prophethood. Like Musa alayhi salam, as Allah split the ocean for him, like Isa alayhi salam and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and many other from the Nabiyeen. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he split the moon, for example. These are mu'jizat and we believe in them. Then after that, there are awliya and we believe in awliya. We believe there are awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah can give them karamat, can give them miraculous gifts, but those are not for them to show themselves to people. Karamat are not for you to know if somebody is the haqq or not. Otherwise, Dajjal will bring crazy, amazing things. That doesn't mean he's a wali of Allah. Karamat are a gift of Allah to that wali. But it's just for him. It is not for him to show the people. It does not show right and wrong. So this man, he tried to call people to himself. So he would tell them, I'm going to show you a miracle of how I will get out. But what he really did is he wrote a letter secretly to ʿAbdullāh ibn Umar. ʿAbdullāh ibn Umar, a great Sahabi, was his brother-in-law, meaning his sister was married to Abdullah ibn Umar. So he knew Abdullah ibn Umar, he wrote him a letter, he said, look, I'm a Muslim, I've not done anything wrong, and they've imprisoned me for no reason. Abdullah ibn Umar sent a letter back to Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, and he told him, look, if he hasn't done anything wrong, if you don't have any evidence against him, not knowing, Abdullah ibn Umar doesn't know the ghaib, right? He doesn't know that this man is a liar. Like the Muslim should always think good about the other Muslim. So not knowing about Mukhtar and his reality, he wrote a letter, he said, let him go. Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, even though he was a very brutal man and things, but he respected the Sahaba, and Abdullah ibn Umar was a knowledgeable, was a mufti from the Sahaba. So in respect for him, he let him go. Mukhtar ibn Ubaydullah hid this whole story, and he came out, he said, look, it's a miracle. Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, such a harsh man, but look, I'm out in a couple of days. And this is again the way of the people of Batil, is always to call towards themselves. For the Ahl Sunnah, we say everything is from Allah. Even if you do something good, you give the credit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because tawfiq is from Allah. You want to connect people with Allah, not with yourself. So here, now when he came out, he tried to make a big deal about this, but his sister Safiya bint Abi Ubaid Thaqafiyya, she was married to Abdullah ibn Umar. Abdullah ibn Umar also did it only thinking that he was a good person, not knowing the reality of Mukhtar. After that, in Sahih Hadith, there was a chair that Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyan used to sit on, kursi, and he would teach knowledge and things in Iraq on this chair. This chair was lost. By this time, it was lost. So this man, Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubaid al-Thaqafi, the liar, he had his people make a fake chair, like it. And he had it painted and he had it done exactly like the chair of Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyanhu. And even though the ulama of tariq across the board said that it was not the chair of Ali radiyanhu, but he used it as a symbol. And he would say that we are the Shi'ain Ali. We are the Shia, we are the people of Ali, and this is the chair of Ali. And he said, as authentically reported, this is like the tabut of Musa. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the tabut, fiha sakina, the tabut where it had the athar of Musa and Harun alayhum as-salam. He said, this chair is like that tabut. If we have this chair, we'll have every victory. And this is something we see in the Shia today too. Every rally, every time they bring out, like in Pakistan, they have this day of on the 10th of Muharram where they beat themselves and things, and they bring out a horse, this is the horse of Ali. How many horses of Ali are alive today? Radiyallahu anhu. Everywhere they go. My grandfather said he was in a place called Deir Ismail Khan and they saw this horse going. And the horse, when it goes, it pees. It doesn't take a bathroom. It doesn't say, I got to go to the bathroom. But the horse, it started peeing and flapping the tail on all the people. And the Shia, to try to make up for it, they were like, this is barakah, barakah. They started taking it, rubbing their faces on it. SubhanAllah. It's all to play with the emotions of people. Today, subhanAllah, sometimes I was in another country in the masjid, one brother walked in and said, I have the hair of Rasulullah. SubhanAllah, where did you get the hair of Rasulullah? We love to have tabarruk with the athar of Rasulullah if it's really from Rasulullah. But how is a guy walking around in a country having the hair? How did you get it? Where is the sanad? And where is the authenticity of this? So we have to always be careful of these types of things that are just used for emotion. Right? No doubt the true hair of Rasulullah has barakah. No doubt to that. But not everybody with a piece of strand of hair can say this is from Rasulullah. You have to give the sanad of it. So here he made this chair and he started to make fake miracles, and he would do things and try to claim miracles to fool the awam. But he started to get a following, and he would use emotions like the Shia do today about Karbala and Hussein ibn Ali, and he would use this to grow the emotions until he started a revolt, khuruj on the Wali al-Amr of the time, and he started a revolt that was successful. He took Kufa. When he took Kufa, he attacked Basra. In Basra, Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad fought him, and he was killed in this battle. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was killed. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, in this battle, as a Sahih Hadith mentions, he was fighting, and the man who fought him hit him on the neck and cut him in half, all the way down. With one sword strike, he cut him in half. And then cut off his head. The body was brought, at that time they were collecting the bodies in the Masjid there. And this hadith is in a Tirmidhi, Sahih Hadith in Jami' Tirmidhi. A snake fell from the roof and went into the nose, the nostril of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, and came out his mouth. And the ulama, like in Tuhfat al-Ahwadi, Mubarak Puri and others, they wrote that this is a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the dunya for what Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad had done to the head of Hussein ibn Ali. Not Yazid, but Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. Khair, this was something that was done, and the head of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was cut off there. Mukhtar now was ruling many of these areas of Iraq. He had taken these areas. Abdullah ibn Zubair. Now, Abdullah ibn Zubair, the true companion of Hussein ibn Ali, he heard about this and about what Mukhtar was doing. And even though the Mukhtar was actually fighting the forces of Yazid, but Abdullah ibn Zubair didn't like what he's doing. So he sent Mus'ab ibn Zubair, the brother of Abdullah ibn Zubair, to go fight Mukhtar. Mus'ab ibn Zubair, again like Abdullah ibn Zubair, was an amazing warrior, great fighter. He went And even though they were outnumbered by the forces of Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubaid, they defeated him, and they took, from when they fought him, they took many areas of Iraq from him. And Mus'ab, when he fought Mukhtar, even though he wasn't physically the one who fought him, he had Mukhtar's head cut. Mukhtar's head was cut. Just like he cut off the other's head, his was cut as well. Subhanallah, at this time, now Abdullah ibn Zubair was controlling Iraq with Mus'ab ibn Zubair there to be his representative. At that time, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, now we are back to where we were. He started to try to take areas, and he sent armies and funds and things from Sham, and they started to cause problems in Iraq until they assassinated Mus'ab ibn Umair. Mus'ab ibn Umair, his head was cut after he fell, and he had to become a shaheed, and it was brought to Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. This hadith, Imam al-Sha'bi, one of the great early Imam and ulama, he said, I was sitting with Abdul Malik ibn Marwan when the head of Mus'ab ibn Zubair was brought. And I told Abdul Malik ibn Marwan that I was there when the head of Hussein ibn Ali was brought. And I was there, this was in Sham, not in Sham, in Iraq. He goes, I was there when the head of others like Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad was brought, and I'm here during this time. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, Sha'bi was giving him a lesson. He was telling him, look, this dunya is such that whoever raises their head, Allah has it cut off. Don't get so caught up with it. And Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, he took an effect from it. He got affected by it. And he said, this place where the head was brought, I don't want to sit here anymore. He felt that this place was cursed with these kinds of things. But unfortunately, he still didn't leave the striving and struggling for power, even though he got somewhat affected by it. He continued until Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, now he took over every area except Hijaz, except for Mecca and Medina. Mecca and Medina were left with Abdullah ibn Zubair. Every other area fell to Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. He told the people of Sham, we need to bring the ummah under one man. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan said that now we need to take over Mecca and Medina. The people of Sham said no. They said, we're not going to fight in those places. They're haramain. They are a place where it's haram to fight. And Abdullah ibn Zubair is a Sahabi. We're not going to shed the blood of a Sahabi. And the people of Sham refused. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, as Tabari and others have mentioned, he did not push the issue on the people of Sham. He left them. But he didn't give up the issue. We wish he had. He went to Iraq. In Iraq, he found a man by the name of Hajjaj. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. The one who's called a murderer, a brutal murder by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So no doubt, he is somebody who was extremely savage in his approach. Hajjaj agreed. He told Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, don't worry about it, I got this. Even though in the writings of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, we find that he tried to rein in Hajjaj. He told Hajjaj, if you can avoid fighting, avoid it. I don't want to shed blood. But if there is no choice, then fight. And whatever you do, do not kill Abdullah ibn Zubair. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan told Hajjaj, don't kill Abdullah ibn Zubair. Khair, Hajjaj went and attacked Medina, and with some ease, he was able to take Medina. He took Medina. Then he turned to Mecca. And when he went to attack Mecca, Abdullah ibn Zubair was in Mecca. And Abdullah ibn Zubair was a great fighter. So even though he had an army of 40,000, Hajjaj had an army of 40,000. Abdullah ibn Zubair had around 2,000 people with him. So it's 40,000 fighting 2,000. But Abdullah ibn Zubair and the people that were with him held off Hajjaj. But Hajjaj surrounded Mecca. He laid siege. And what he did is he stopped anything from going out and in. So no food could be brought in. And as those of you that have been to Mecca, Mecca is not a fertile place. You don't grow anything in Mecca. Unlike Medina, which you have dates and things. But in Mecca, it's all rock. So there's no food being grown, and there's no food coming in. So it became very difficult for the people. And he would attack for 3 months He couldn't take Mecca. Abdullah ibn Zubair held him off. In these 3 months though, towards the end of them, because he couldn't break the siege, what did he do? He started to use catapults. He started to take catapults and throw rocks, huge rocks. Rocks that, as the ulama of Tariq said, if it fell on a house, it would flatten the house. And these were this size rocks. And they would fall and they would hit people, and people would become shuhada in Mecca. So for the people of Mecca, it became very difficult. I mean, imagine for us, it's easy to talk about this sitting here. But when you're in that situation where the food is shortage, water shortage, and you have Zamzam, alhamdulillah, but other than that, you have no other source of water, you don't have any other source of food, you don't have anything coming in and out, you have constant threat of war, there's everyday battles and dead bodies and things, it becomes very difficult. So many of the people, they started to leave Mecca. And many of the people, they were forced into switching sides, just because it became too difficult for them to stand on the side of Abdullah ibn Zubair. Two interesting incidents that happened that are in authentic narrations. Wallah, I mean, again, these are tariqi narrations, these are not Rasulullah, but up to the tabi'un and those that were there. One of them, that one of the rocks that was catapulted, it hit the Kaaba. And when it hit the Kaaba, a lightning that the people who described it said it was like the size of a donkey, and it didn't come direct, like lightning strikes, it actually strikes before you even hear it, right? But it came, it circled around on top, and then it hit just the catapult that had thrown that rock, killing 40 to 50 people that were around it, that were manning it, and destroyed it, burnt it to ashes. With lightning. So the people, they saw this. And the army, they started to retreat, seeing that this is a divine sign not to do what they're doing. But Hajjaj was a very harsh-hearted man. He continued. A part of when he was catapulting, there was like a light that flashed in the sky, but instead of lighting, it blacked out the sky. As Ibn Kathir and Al-Dhahabi and others have, that for 2 days, the sky became black. And it wasn't like an eclipse or something which lasts a few. For 2 days, it was all black. It was night the whole time. And these were, as the ulama have said, ayat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, signs to the people who were attacking Mecca that this is not a place to be attacked. But, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it did not mean that He stopped them. He gave them signs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us choice. And then He gives us signs. And if we take heed, if we pay heed to those signs, we can stop ourselves from the punishment of Allah. But some people, they don't pay attention to the signs from Allah and they continue on their sins. But then Allah will catch you in the end. In the end, where are you going to go? So here Hajjaj, he was continuing his assault, and the people around Abdullah ibn Zubair were becoming very few. At this time, Hajjaj felt that he could enter the city of Mecca and kill Abdullah ibn Zubair. He sent a letter back to Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan sent a letter back to Hajjaj saying, do not kill Abdullah ibn Zubair. Instead, offer them peace. Whoever surrenders, give them peace. Hajjaj sent a letter to Abdullah ibn Zubair radiyallahu anhu. Abdullah ibn Zubair is Sahabi. He sent him a letter and said, if you surrender, there will be peace for you, and whoever surrenders with you and gives bay'ah to Abdul Malik Marwan, there will be peace. There will be no harm brought to you. Just surrender, otherwise within few days you will die. Abdullah ibn Zubair, after 3 months of continuous fighting, after this siege, and just to give you an example, in the Sahih Hadith, during this time when these rocks were coming, Abdullah ibn Zubair would go into the Hatim and he would make long salawats. And arrows and rocks would be falling next to him, and people would be dying, and they would say he wouldn't flinch. He wouldn't blink his eye. He wouldn't flinch. He would be looking. His eyes weren't closed. He was looking at the place of sujood, really making long rak'at. He was that type of a zahid. And he's somebody for the akhirah. So Abdullah ibn Zubair, at this time, he went to his mother. His mother was there in Mecca with him. Who was his mother? Asma bint Abi Bakr, the great Sahabiya. He went to his mother, who was also there going through all those hardships. And imagine for our sisters, if your child, your son, your beloved child comes to you at such a hard moment and tells you, look, we have a chance. We surrender, we give bay'ah, nothing on us. No retaliation killings, no imprisonment, we're free to go wherever we want. My mother, what should I do? Asma bint Abi Bakr told him, if you are on the haqq, if you stood for the truth, stand firm. What will they do except kill you? What can they do except kill you? Death will come anyway to everybody. Rather you die on the haqq than you live on the batil. Subhanallah. And you look at the braveness of this woman. Look at the courage of this woman. Look at the, wallahi, I doubt that our men today could stand in the shadow of those women and how brave they were. And she told her son, don't worry about it. What can they do except kill you? If you're on the haqq, don't worry about it. Abdullah ibn Zubair told her, look, I'm not worried about death. I mean, subhanAllah, look at his thinking. He goes, but I'm worried that maybe they will mutilate and disrespect my body after my death. Asma bint Abi Bakr told her son, that don't worry. She said, when a goat is killed and the skin is then skinned off, it doesn't harm the goat. And once it's killed, that's it. The skinning doesn't harm the goat. Once you become a shaheed, that's it. Whatever they do to your body will not harm you. Abdullah ibn Zubair said, my mother, I had the same thing in my heart, but I wanted to hear it from you. I had the same thing. And he went and he put the nice clothes and he put the nice athar and he took the rest of who he had and they went into battle. Subhanallah, for the sake of time I'm going to summarize, but it was a very fierce battle. They said they would attack him from every side and you would just see bodies dropping. And Abdullah ibn Zubair in the middle fighting. Until he was hit on the head and arrows pierced his body and swords came from every side. But he continued to fight like a man standing until he became a shaheed. Abdullah ibn Zubair was made a shaheed. At that time, al-Hajjaj cut off the head of Abdullah ibn Zubair and put it as a warning for the people of Mecca and took his body and hung it in another place and things like this. Asma bint Abi Bakr was alive and she saw her son become a shaheed. And she told Hajjaj, give me the body so I can bury my son. Hajjaj refused. But Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, when he heard of this, he granted that the body of Abdullah ibn Zubair be given to his mother. And she went and got his body. And whoever was with him, they made ghusl for the body. And the Sahaba, or whoever was there at that time, they made the janazah for him. Even though regularly you don't have to wash the body of the shaheed, but there are some times for ahkam and things. I don't want to get into the fiqh rulings of it here. Hajjaj now turned back to Medina. He went back to Medina. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi was a psychopathic killer. I don't know how else to describe it. According to At-Tabari, he killed 120 to 130,000 people. No weapons of mass destruction, no AKs, no bombs by himself. He killed 120 to 130,000 people. Other ulama said 140,000. But either way, he was no doubt a mass murderer. When he was in Medina, he said, all of you are responsible for the murder of Uthman, so every one of your blood halal. So just anytime he would feel, and as they said, and even though this is the books of Tariq, wallahu alam to the sanad of it, but they said that he would give khutbah with a sword, which is from the sunnah. But what's not from the sunnah is that if he saw somebody drowsy or sleeping in the khutbah, he would hit them with a sword. Meaning he would hit them with the sword. Not tap them with the sharp side. And this is how of an insane person he was. But just to give you an idea about Hajjaj, he respected the Quran. Even though he didn't follow the Quran. And this is a mistake. Some people today, they have respect for the Mus'haf, which is good. They will put the Mus'haf very high and tie it in a lot of cloth and put nice smell, but they will never read it, they will never act upon it. The Quran is to be obeyed. He respected the Quran so much that he didn't allow people to say Surah Al-Baqarah. If you said Surah Al-Baqarah, he would get upset. He would say Surah ذكر فيه البقرة, the surah where Al-Baqarah is mentioned in it. Don't say Surah Al-Baqarah to disrespect to the Quran. But look what he did with the Sahaba of Rasulullah. What about the ayat of Quran not to shed the blood? What about those? He did some good things, I guess. He did order the first time for harakat to be, and not the way we have fatha dhamma kasra, but for signs to be put within the Quran. And according to some of the historians, even though he wasn't the head of this, he actually worked in it himself to put these signs in the Quran. Khair, either which way, he left the ummah at this time under the control of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. And inshallah, we'll pick up from there at the next dars. Jazakumullahu khairan.